Welcome to my October election prediction, so let's start. And there we go. So for New York, actually I have this as a 14% victory for Harris. Barely a safe state, but could easily drop down to likely D. I keep an eye on that if I was you too. So for the first district, it is on 538. It could actually, it's barely a safe district for Donald Trump, and could easily drop down to a likely R victory for him here if Harris, for example, wins the second district by like 10-15 points. Don't think that's going to happen, but if that happens, I could see it dropping down to a likely margin. But yeah, that's it for the safe states and margins. And now for Florida, although the polling industry is saying this is barely going to be a 3-5 victory for Donald Trump, I still think he's going to do way better than the polls say in Florida, mostly because the anti-socialist movement, I should say the anti-socialist bloc that many Latinos in Florida are in, I think they're going to vote for Donald Trump way more compared to other states because of their ancestry in socialist countries, of course, and that's really why I have this as a Trump victory by 9-11%. I think he wins here around that double-digit area, and yeah, a Trump victory easily there. And now for Maine, no new polling recently, so I'm just going to put out there, I think Donald Trump, he wins the second district similar to 2020, while Kamala Harris wins Maine at large by a likely margin just as 2020, so not any difference from there. And now for New Hampshire, we haven't gotten any new polling recently, but here's all the major polling websites, and all are saying it's going to be a likely victory for Harris. And I haven't seen that much Trump spending in New Hampshire. I've seen more spending actually in Maine, which is interesting. Let's just say the second district. And I expect Harris to easily win here by I'm guessing like 7-9% margin. Not a change from last time. But yeah, nothing new in this state. And now let's go to Ohio actually, which if you watch the debate actually, I'm going to change the margin in this state because I think J.D. Vance, as many have seen in the community post and the polls, he has gained some favorability back after the debate, and I think that's going to help him and Trump. So that does mean I'm going to change my margin from what? Yeah, I'm going to change this to a 7.5 to 9.5 victory for Donald Trump and Vance. Could easily even move down upwards to a 9 to 10% area, but I think Vance favorability is going to get better come election day, and that's going to help the GOP here. So yeah, even more votes for Trump in Ohio. And now let's go to another state, or I should say district. So yeah, let's go to the first district, second district, third district, and all the districts in Nebraska, of course. So the second district, we got some polls from Siena, New York Times Siena, have Harris winning here by almost 10%. Siena is a bit to the left usually, so not too much accurate, but Siena having Harris almost winning here by a safe margin is not a good sign for Donald Trump's appeal in the suburbs, which is where I think Harris is going to be able to gain votes from Biden 2020. But she's probably going to do worse in the rules. But yeah, I'm actually going to have this Harris victory by 7-9%, so an upwards trend to the left from the last video. And now for Iowa, where we actually got a new poll, but not from Seltzer, but from Signal, showing a Trump victory by 7%. I'm still going to stick with my guts and say it's going to be a similar margin to 2020, and going to say like a Trump victory by 7-9%, probably like around an 8-ish area. Maybe it could be even more, but I think that's a good conservative estimate there. For another interesting race in New Mexico actually, so 538 has this as an 8% victory for Harris, of course. And if you check my community post, Telemundo, there we go, I actually had a poll showing Latinos really taking a swing to the right from 2020, as you can see here. NBC Telemundo poll, yeah, which isn't really amazing news for Harris, and I do expect her to do worse than Biden already, showing Kamala Harris winning here by anywhere. She gets 50%, but there's still like 6-8% undecided. So usually these polls are from a few weeks ago. So I'm going to have to drop my margin a tad bit. I'm going to say she wins here by 6-8% in New Mexico. I still think she needs to do better with Latinos, but I don't think she's going to do better than Biden. That's going to be a key weak area for her for sure. And for another state, I'm actually going to drop the margin similar to from New Mexico. We can actually go to Virginia, which has slowly tightened up the race on 538, so she barely wins here by 6.6%, or just say 7%, whatever. You got some polls from Emerson and undecideds, which is more, really, I should say more interesting. You got 4%, 1%. So it does seem like overall, nationally, the race has gotten a bit tighter in the last maybe like month-ish. Not too much though. Let's say maybe like a point or half a point to the right, which is not really amazing news for Harris though. Especially when Republicans are doing okay, or doing, I should probably say good in early voting compared to 2020 and like I think it's Virginia actually, yeah, which had COVID, all that sort of stuff. You can't really compare 2024 to 2020 because of that, but yeah, they're doing better than expected in early voting. That's a red flag right now for Democrats. But yeah, moving on to Alaska. Not too many polls, unfortunately. We got this one from a month ago. I think it's gonna move to the left. Yeah, to the left of 2020. I think things like abortion, January 6th are really the main things going for Democrats, while cost of living is a thing that the GOP needs to talk more about. I think that's gonna help them. 5 to 7% victory for the GOP in here. And briefly for Minnesota, or I should say Texas, yeah, oh my god, I almost forgot about the big old state of Texas. So we've gotten a lot of polls actually from Texas, and we got this one just within the last 24 hours from RMG showing Trump victory by 7, which I do tend to agree with. We got Triple P showing a Trump by 5, but I do think most of the undecideds, 3/5 to 2/3 will go to Donald Trump, I'm guessing. And that's going to mean that he's going to win here by a I'm guessing 6 to 8% margin for him in 2024. Ted Cruz, that's another thing that, yeah, Ted Cruz is not doing too good. But Donald Trump himself, he should win here comfortably by around that margin. And now, look, we can go back to Minnesota. Sorry about that. We haven't got a new poll. The last one is from Survey USA showing Harris victory by 6. And Walz getting some more favorability after the debate. I think he's not going to get as much as Vance, who's going to get way more, but I think he's gonna get some more home state advantage, and I'm guessing Harris wins here by 5.5 to 7.5. This should be an easy state for her and a lock for sure. And that's it for the likely states, so we can now move on to the lean states, and this time around we can move on to North Carolina easily. North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Florida, all were hit by hurricane Helen. I don't think that's going to affect the election, to be honest, unless, it's, Georgia's within like 100 votes, but yeah, just briefly for that, so wanted to get that out of the way. We got these polls from Quinnipiac, usually left-leaning, so Emerson, you also got these ones, you also got, if we go down here, a lot of polls. Washington Post, usually left-leaning, showing Trump victory by 2%, so I don't think this is going to be a flip for the Democrats unless something crazy happens with polling. And that's really why I have this as a 1 to 3% victory for Donald Trump. Even though this keeps up, wouldn't be surprised if that margin goes up higher. I know Mark Robinson's probably going to lose by a safe margin, but yeah, we're going to see how all that works together in this November, so that's going to be something interesting to look at. And now let's go to Michigan, a crucial Rust Belt state, and we got some polling showing Trump winning here, but it's from Trafalgar, so you can't really trust in them much. We got RMG. Most importantly, we got New York Times Siena showing a narrow Harris victory, although there's a lot of undecided voters in that Trump win in the first poll. We got the main poll saying Harris victory, and I expect undecideds to be 3/5 for Harris overall. We got these ones, so it's gonna be close. It's probably gonna be closer than what Biden did, so I think she's gonna win here by a lean margin, but it's gonna be a low lean margin of 1 to 3%, so it's getting extremely close in this election, by the way, unless the poll is either polling industry is off to the left or to the right. And now for Arizona, where immigration, one of the major issues, is a really good thing for Trump, or I should say is one of his most valuable assets. You got these pollings and all the polling websites. They show actually Trump doing quite better off from last month. So in this October prediction, I might have to put this as lean R actually. You got Emerson, you got Atlas, Morning Consult is left leaning. But this Marist poll showing you Trump by 1, Trump by 2, that's really the main one I'm looking at. You got Cook, but still got undecided voters. And it's a D poll too, so yeah, I'm gonna have to move this from a tilt R margin from last prediction to a lean, barely lean victory for Donald Trump in 2024 in Arizona. I think he wins here by 1, probably like 0.75% to 2.75%. So yeah, barely a lean margin, and Latinos moving to the right wouldn't help Democrats in this state. And yeah, that's it for the lean states. So we can now move on to the tilt states. Talking about Latinos, we can actually go to Nevada. And Nevada, actually, the 538 has this as a lean margin overall, barely though. And that's because it does seem like Harris has gained back some decent momentum in this state slowly. And from people that I've seen, like John Ralston, it's going to be extremely close, bear in mind. But from compared to last month, it's not looking as pro-Trump of a state or a pro-Trump flip. And if it's already looking that iffy for Donald Trump to win here in this state, it's probably gonna mean Harris wins here narrowly in 2024. It's gonna be, yeah, unless something big changes, I think. This goes from a R victory, my last prediction, to a flip and a Democrat victory for Harris here. I'm guessing it's gonna be like a 0.5% to a 1% margin, so barely a high tilt state for Harris, but still, she wins here though. So yeah, a flip for my last video. And talking about flips, we can move on to Georgia, actually. In the Peach State, Donald Trump is leading most pollsters. You got Quinnipiac, usually a center-left poll, showing Trump winning here by 6%, which is crazy. Almost made a video about that. Still got some undecided voters here, though, so I think most of those go to Harris. It's probably like 2/3, like I've said before. But still, still means like a 3% victory for Donald Trump overall. And yeah, it's not looking good for Harris right now. It does look like the momentum is slowly drying up for Harris right now. Still, it doesn't mean it's going to be dry enough for her to lose, but it's getting to that point where it's getting a bit too uncomfortable, and perhaps she may, I'm going to talk about Pennsylvania in a second. Maybe picking someone else's VP would have helped her quite a lot. And have Harris lose, have Donald Trump winning Georgia. Barely, I think he wins here by 0.25% to 0.75%, so even closer than Nevada. The trends are here for the Democrats, but the turnout is where Democrats are set to lose right now in Georgia, and that's why, yeah, it's very close still, but yeah, anything can happen. For Wisconsin, yeah, let's go to Wisconsin. For the cheeseheads, most polling websites show this as an alright, almost like a 2% victory for Harris, but Wisconsin polls tend to be a bit Democratic leaning, so that's why I'm not too trustful of them. You got New York Times Siena, right here with a, oh no, that's Marquette, so we got 4 polls from them showing Harris winning here by 2 to 3%, usually, 2 to 3%, and let me check the undecideds for that. The ones we got here, probably like a 50-50 flip. I'm guessing it's not as blue as how many websites are saying it's gonna be a lean D victory. I don't think it's gonna be to the left of Pennsylvania. In my opinion, I think it's gonna be a narrow victory, probably the same margin as in Georgia. But in the cheesehead state, I think Harris narrowly wins by 0.25% and 0.75%, which gets help from Tim Walz. But I think, Pennsylvania, as you can see, it all comes down to Pennsylvania in this election. So as you can see, it's extremely close. 270, 0.1%, 538, 0.8. The closest state on their average, is it? No, it's actually North Carolina for some reason, which is weird, but yeah. Let me see. Yeah, this is the closest state on their estimate. So, if Harris loses Pennsylvania, she's gonna look back on that Josh Shapiro snub quite fondly for sure. And I say that ironically, by the way. You got polling from Trafalgar, Patriot, which are right-leaning pollsters. You got Emerson, usually right-leaning, but they did RCP, which is weird, so I can't really talk about that. Atlas, Saska, I'm not gonna pronounce that. You got Fabrizio, 5-3, so it's really close, extremely close. So I'm not surprised that pollsters have this like that. But for my October prediction, I have Harris barely winning in Pennsylvania, but this is not an ideal map for Harris because all it takes is a polling error in Pennsylvania and Trump wins. Let's say Wisconsin votes, the polling is way off to the left, and Wisconsin actually votes for Donald Trump. Yeah, he only needs Wisconsin, for example. He only needs one of these states to flip and win the election. But yeah, it's extremely close. And for now, I do have Harris barely winning with 276 electoral votes, while Donald Trump gets 262 electoral votes, but this election is straight up a toss-up. Let me know what your map looks like. Feel free to leave a like, join the channel membership, and have a good one.